is a giant water bug. It has been clinging to this root for 14 hours, waiting. Its forelegs are armed with interlocking spines that close like a bear trap in under 50 milliseconds. And its beak injects an enzyme that dissolves living tissue from the inside out. By dusk, it will strike, and the black water will explode. But this story begins 14 hours earlier, before the sun has touched the horizon. 5 a.m., 7:45 a.m. Before the sun has touched the horizon, the ancient cypress swamp of the Atchafalaya basin holds its breath. The water is black tannin-stained by centuries of decomposing leaves, and from every branch, gray Spanish moss hangs motionless in the heavy air. Beneath this dark mirror, pressed flat against a submerged root, waits the giant water bug, Lethoceros americanus, one of the largest true bugs on Earth. Its compound eyes break the surface by less than a millimeter, seeing two worlds at once, the aerial realm above and the subaquatic darkness below. Its raptorial forelegs are cocked in a loaded strike posture, femur grooved, tibia armed with interlocking spines that close in under 50 milliseconds. There is no escape from that grip. At the water's edge, the six-spotted fishing spider spreads its front legs across the surface tension. Thousands of hydrophobic microhairs dimple the film without breaking through, and mechanoreceptor cells in those hairs detect the pressure waves of prey moving beneath a biological sonar of extraordinary sensitivity. Above the water, strung between two cypress knees, a web catches the first light. It belongs to the golden silk orb, Weaver Trichonephila clavipes. Its dragline silk possesses a tensile strength, greater weight than steel. This morning, the web hangs heavy with dew, each droplet refracting the swamp in miniature. On the dark surface below, water striders skate on vortex propulsion, and a flotilla of whirligig beetles spins in rapid circles, each beetle's compound eye divided in half, watching the sky and the water simultaneously. A swamp darner dragonfly sheds dew from its wings and launches into its first flight. And at the swamp's edge, the eastern lubber grasshopper emerges its bold black and yellow body, a textbook of aposematic warning coloration. "7:45 a.m. 11:30 a.m. The morning brightens, and the swamp hums with industry. The golden silk orb weaver begins web construction, moving head downward along a radial spoke, her posterior spinnerets extruding golden silk. 3 pairs of spinnerets work in concert, the anterior pair producing structural dragline from the major ampullate glands, while piriform spigots lay down the disc-shaped attachment junctions. The silk transitions from liquid protein to solid fiber at the exact point of extrusion, a phase change material scientists have spent decades trying to replicate. She repairs torn sections with fresh thread, her tarsal claws gripping and releasing with a dexterity that seems impossible for an animal without fingers. The lubber grasshopper feeds with slow deliberation, mandibles shearing through iris leaf tissue. When disturbed, it flashes brilliant rose-red hindwings and secretes toxic froth from its thoracic spiracles, an aposematic display backed by genuine chemical weaponry. The swamp darner patrols the Cypress corridor, 4 wings beating asynchronously, an aerodynamic arrangement unmatched in the insect world. In a steep dive, it deploys spiny front legs into an aerial basket, snatching a midge with a precision that leaves no margin for error. On the cypress bark, the bark centipede emerges. Scolopocryptops, sex spinosus, flows across the furrowed surface. 23 pairs of legs, rippling in perfectly coordinated metachronal waves. Its forcipools' modified first legs, bearing venom-tipped fangs, strike a beetle larva with explosive speed, the neurotoxic cocktail paralyzing the prey within seconds. At the waterline, the fishing spider plunges through the surface in a burst of silvery air, seizes aquatic prey, and returns to feed chelicerae, injecting digestive enzymes in the classic method of extraoral digestion. And on the web, the trap springs. A moth strikes the sticky spirals. The orb weaver rushes in, wraps the prey, and bites through the silk shroud. Venom flows. The moth falls still. "11:30 a.m., 2:30 p.m. The flat, even light of midday presses down on the swamp like a held breath. Spanish moss hangs absolutely motionless. The dark water surface turns to polished glass. Activity slows to the rhythm of breathing itself. The lubber grasshopper shelters beneath a palmetto frond, its abdomen pulsing with visible respirations, the spiracle openings along its pleural membrane widening and narrowing, as the tracheal system works harder to cool the massive body. The orb weaver rests at her hub, the silk-wrapped prey from the morning catch positioned nearby, partially consumed through extraoral digestion. Beneath the dark water, a red swamp crayfish navigates the submerged root lattice. Procambarus clarkii, its chelae testing each surface, the larger crusher claw and the smaller serrated cutter claw, serving distinctly different mechanical functions. Its swimmerets fan a gentle current beneath its abdomen as it investigates decomposing leaf matter, the maxilliped sorting food from debris. And on the submerged root beside it, the giant water bug has not moved, not once. The flat body remains pressed against the wood, the raptorial forelegs cocked, the breathing siphon pulsing at the surface in its endless respiratory metronome. A drifting particle of organic debris triggers a micro-reflex in the foreleg, the tibia snapping forward by a fraction of a millimeter before the bug overrides the false positive and returns to its cocked position. It is a machine of extraordinary patience, calibrated to ignore everything except the precise hydrodynamic signature of viable prey. Looking upward from beneath the surface, the water ceiling appears as a rippled silvery mirror. Snell's window, through which the silhouettes of cypress, knees, and floating duckweed are visible in a circular disk of refracted sky. The velvet ant appears on the warm bark at the cypress base. Dacimutilla occidentalis, not an ant at all, but a wingless female wasp. Her dense orange-red pile, composed of thousands of branching setae, serves as both warning signal and physical armor. Laboratory tests have shown her exoskeleton can resist the sting of virtually any other wasp species. Her own sting is proportionally one of the longest in the Hymenoptera, earning her the common name cow killer. She searches the leaf litter for the ground nests of other bees and wasps, probing each depression with her antennae, evaluating the chemical signatures within. Her larva, once laid, will consume the host pupa from the inside, a parasitoid strategy as ancient as the wasps themselves. The stinger extends in a defensive display, a dark, glossy, curved needle, then slowly retracts into its sheath. A warning delivered, a warning understood. 2:30 p.m., 5:15 p.m. The first breath of cooler air moves through the Spanish moss, and the swamp exhales from its midday torpor. The light takes on the warm, muted quality of fading amber. The swamp darner launches from its perching branch into the first afternoon patrol, 4 wings engaging at full power. The thoracic flight muscles, the most powerful muscles relative to body size in the animal kingdom, driving the asynchronous wing beat that allows the dragonfly to perform aerial maneuvers no engineered aircraft can match. Its compound eye, filling the frame like a jeweled hemisphere, reveals tens of thousands of hexagonal ommatidia packed in a precise geometric array. The upper facets larger for detecting movement against the bright sky, the lower facets smaller, for resolving detail against the darker ground. The entire curved surface reflects the cypress swamp in a distorted panorama, a fisheye view of a world designed for interception. The crayfish emerges fully from its burrow into the shallows, chele held forward in the alert foraging posture, swimmerets fanning rhythmically. The fishing spider relocates across the open water surface, walking on surface tension itself. 8 legs spread wide, each creating a dimple, but never breaking through. The orb weaver's web catches a larger prize. A dragonfly strikes the capture zone at speed, and the golden silk stretches dramatically. Radial spokes bowing inward as the structural engineering absorbs and distributes the kinetic energy across the entire frame. The web deforms, but does not break. The spider charges. The prey thrashes. Silk fragments float in the warm air. She bites at the cervical membrane, the thinnest point of the cuticle, and the venom takes hold. The thrashing decelerates from violent to feeble to still. She wraps the paralyzed body in broad bands of silk, then settles over the package to begin the long process of extraoral digestion. Chelicerae, pumping digestive enzymes into the prey and drawing the liquefied tissue back through the rostrum. And at the waterline, the giant water bug moves for the first time in hours. Slowly, deliberately, it rotates on the submerged root, pivoting its body toward the shallows where the fading light will silhouette, approaching prey against the brighter surface. The raptorial forelegs open fractionally wider, increasing the strike radius. The rostrum extends. A droplet of salivary fluid loaded with proteolytic enzymes forms at the stylet tip. The weapon is primed. 5:15 p.m., 7 p.m. The sky turns. The overcast heavens deepen from dusty orange to bruised purple, and the dark water becomes a mirror for the drama above. The cypress trunks stand in silhouette. Spanish moss hangs as dark veils against the dying light. Mosquito swarms thicken into visible columns, their harmonic drone filling the corridors between the ancient trees. Whirligig beetles spin in an evening frenzy, glossy elytra catching the twilight in muted orange reflections. Water striders clash in territorial combat, sending violent ripples across the dark surface. The orb weaver's web becomes a dark geometric mandala against the bruised purple heavens. She rotates at the hub, repositioning for the nocturnal moths that will come with the darkness. And at the waterline, all the predators converge. The crayfish clambers boldly over exposed roots, Kele wide open. The fishing spider settles into its most aggressive posture, front legs extended to maximum spread across the darkening water. And between them, motionless, patient, lethal, the giant water bug waits. Its compound eyes sit at the boundary between air and water, the upper facets reflecting the last purple glow. A pressure wave approaches. The sensory hairs along the raptorial forelegs bend in sequence, registering the hydrodynamic signature of approaching prey. Then the black water explodes. The giant water bug erupts through the surface in a detonation of spray and foam. The raptorial forelegs snap open and close in a single devastating arc. Tibial spines drive into flesh. Tarsal hooks lock. The dark water churns into a violent maelstrom against the bruised purple sky. And then silence. The rostrum finds its mark. The paralytic saliva floods into the wound. The proteolytic enzymes begin their work, dissolving the prey's internal tissues into a nutrient slurry that the bug will draw back through its beak over the coming hours. The ripples expand outward, reaching the cypress knees, lapping against Spanish moss, and fading to nothing. Above, the orb weaver plucks a final spoke in the gathering darkness, a pale moth already caught in the invisible web. Below, the centipede flows from its crevice. Forcipools open. Antennae sweeping the darkness is its element. And at the waterline, the giant water bug feeds patient, methodical, eternal. The fireflies pulse between the dark trunks. One by one, they appear tiny beacons in the void. And then they too fade. The chorus of frogs holds for a moment in the absolute blackness, then slowly, gently, subsides. The black water breathes on. The giant water bug will feed through the night, but it is not the most dangerous predator in the micro-world. There is one that builds a trap so precise, it can catch prey traveling at 60 kilometers per hour.